Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Marcel. Pleasure to be here.
Michael, you are the co-chair of one of the working groups in the International Treaty for Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. Can you explain a little bit what the ITPGRFA does?
So the treaty is established to promote conservation and sustainable use of plant genetic resources for food and agriculture. And so the working group that I co-chair is trying to enhance how a key part of the treaty functions. So the treaty establishes a multilateral system for access and benefit sharing for plant genetic resources for research and breeding. And through, last few years, we found that there are, that system isn't meeting the expectations of users and providers. So looking to improve it, so it's providing better access to material and improving the benefit sharing from that access.
Yeah, and your role in the organization?
Yep. So my role is as co-chair of the working group. So along with my co-chair from India, Sunil Ashak, our job is to work with contracting parties and other stakeholders to try and find a consensus on some of the key issues outstanding to this enhancement process.
From the meetings, the ITPGRFA meetings that I've followed, I remember that the Annex 1, the crops on Annex 1 was always a hot topic because that Annex lists the crops for which the treaty applies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for years, the seed sector tried to expand that crop, but it has run into a bit of a delay. Can you explain what's going on there?
Yeah. So there are three key issues that we need to resolve for the enhancement process. So one of them is expanding the annex for crops. One of them is payment rates and structures that apply to the system. And the third one is around what they call digital sequence information, genetic sequence data. So we have a draft package of measures for the enhancement. It's got a very well elaborated element, which is about expanding the annex, but nothing's going to happen until a solution of all three issues is found. So there's some linkages between those elements, and it's just not practical to get agreement on one issue without addressing the others. So they need to go forward as a package to get agreement.
Yeah. Is that a chicken and egg situation?
Not really. So I mean, they are linked, but they also have their own distinct issues to be addressed. So as I said, that there is a well-developed element around the enhancements. Not completely agreed, but it's well-developed and broad agreement with the approach. But the other elements all need to be done at the same time. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. You just mentioned it already, digital sequence information, or DSI. When I mentioned this here in the corridors and meetings, some people get very nervous that the benefit sharing would also apply to DSI. Should people be worried?
Well, look, I mean, digital sequence information, genetic sequence data, it's a really key area for development for efficiency of breeding, for conservation and use of PGRFA. So it's understandably of significant interest to the industry. Mm-hmm. And it's been, it's an issue of concern in a number of fora. So it's not just the plant treaty, but there's also parallel discussions happening in the Convention on Biological Diversity, mm-hmm. and other fora. And so it's definitely of interest to everybody that it's resolved. But at the end of the day, it's only going to be addressed in the plant treaty if there's a consensus between the parties about how it's addressed. So currently, the draft package has some unagreed text around that, which is a basis for further discussion, but there's nothing agreed yet about how geosequence information will be addressed. There is very strong recognition of the importance of open access to data for the range of uses that's applied to and potentially applicable to as things develop. And trying to find a pathway forward is one of the challenges that we have today to finalise in the process.
Yeah, sure. So you have a desired outcome in mind. What happens next towards that desired outcome, and what are the prospects of a successful outcome?
So right now we're in a process where, so in 2019, there was a package of measures considered by the Plaid Treaty. We were close to a consensus, but there were some issues that could not be agreed on. And so there was a brief pause in the process, and we restarted in 2023, restarted discussions.
Okay.
We've had some, basically, the focus of discussions has been on rebuilding the mutual understanding between contracting parties and stakeholders on the sort of outcomes that people are seeking, and we've had some of those discussions leading into framing the next set of work. So mapping out a timetable and the key issues to be addressed, and a broad discussion about the way forward. So the next task is for myself and my fellow co-chair, Sunil, to draft a package of measures for the working group to consider. And that will build on the work that was done up to 2019, but try to take it forward with some of the recent developments and the good discussion that we've had in the working group. And then we'll have that for consideration by the working group in September. And we're working towards having an agreed package to present to the governing body at its meeting in November 2025. So
25. Okay.
It's a very fixed timeline. Yeah. There is no extension proposed or been sought, and no appetite for extension. It's very firmly, people expect it to be dealt with at the 2025 meeting.
Okay.
So we're working towards having a draft considered by the working group. And then we have a couple of meetings to settle issues that come out of that discussion. And then, we're looking to have a final package considered in 2025.
And we're here at the ISF Congress. We're surrounded by a bit noisy seats people. What can the seat sector do to help forward this process?
Look, I think that there's two key things seat sector can do. One is the ISF have active participants in the process, and so they have a genetic resources group who support their participants in the process. And I think it's really great if people can engage with that process, so that when they're coming to meetings, they've got that knowledge about the right range of views within the industry, as well as able to inform members about the issues that are of concern, so that they can be aware of things. And then I think the second thing that people can do is engage with their national contact points. So each country has a national focal point who is a source that people can go to talk about issues, and those focal points will be doing consultation as the package of measures develops towards 2025, the meeting at the end of 2025. And it's really important that they understand range of stakeholder views, including industry, and can represent them and consider them in their national positions they take. And then once hopefully the package is agreed by the governing body, then has to go through a domestic political process to be ratified in individual countries. And so engaging with governments as they seek to ratify hopefully an agreed package that the industry is supportive of, and understanding industry's interest and that in the packages, they're really important ways the industry can support the process.
Yeah, yes, yeah, wonderful. I look forward to a successful outcome.
So do I.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah.